Hey, I'm Roberto, uncle, dreamer, and Disney kid at heart. As a business profit strategist and community leader, I've had the chance to work with multiple business owners and community leaders ranging from napkin ideas to 8-figure brands. And along the way, there's been some failures, amazing successes, and lots of friendships have been born. Now, community leaders come from all walks of life and business. They might identify as a coach, consultant, speaker, a nonprofit leader, or a maker, but here's the thing. They all have one thing in common. They are purpose-driven brands and leaders seeking to create an even bigger impact in the world with and for their communities. This is the show that brings together community leaders and business leaders with communities to reveal their mistakes and successes to building and creating a highly impactful and profitable community. This is the Connected Community Leader Podcast. Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Connected Community Leader Podcast. And I am here today with Kate Dramis. Now, I know you're probably thinking that you've got a product, a book, or a program or service coming out, and that you are so excited about the opportunity to write copy. I know that it's the thing that keeps you up at night wanting to eat popcorn and snacks because you're so excited because you just get to write it. Actually, that's probably not you. You are probably sitting there dreading launching because you're just like, there is this thing called copy, and people make it so intimidating and unapproachable. Well, I want to let you know, we're going to dive into some of that today and how to make copy a bit more approachable and to actually create copy that converts. So I had the opportunity to, meet Kate today as we're recording this. But just a couple months ago, I was attending a live virtual event with one of my mentors, Mel Abraham, and was learning so much about frameworks and the thoughtpreneur process. And then all of a sudden, he's like, well, let's talk a bit about copy. And I could see the look on people's faces, and they were just like, no, Mel, not copy. Not copy. In my head, I'm like, oh my God, this is so exciting. I hope I can learn something, because to this day, I still write all of my copy because I believe copy can be fun. And so when I saw Kate and saw the way that she delivered with such integrity and so much value, and wanting to make sure that people could see that copy could convert and that copy could be fun, I was like, I have to meet this woman. And so I did what some of you do. You go subscribe to somebody's list and just like, okay, I'll probably never talk to them. I probably never get to meet them, but let's opt in. And so I did. And then, as you know, this year has been interesting in the world. There's been a lot of opportunities for leaders, for community leaders, for influencers to step up and to truly lead our communities and show our communities who we are, that we truly are those heart-based and purpose-driven people, and that at the same time, we make mistakes and we can do better. And I got one of Kate's emails, and I just had to reply to her because she led with such authority and with compassion and with a desire to learn and to see what she could do to serve her community, that I was just like, I have to meet you. You're amazing. So today we have Kate, who is absolutely amazing. She's worked with Mel Abraham, with James Wedmore, several more, but today she gets to be here for a conversation with you. So welcome, Kate.
Thank you so much. That was such a beautiful introduction. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm glad to be here too. I'm like, you know what? We should actually take that and snip it out. And we'll just every time you walk on stage somewhere, we'll just play that.
Yes, please. I'm going to play it as my alarm in the morning when I wake up.
Oh, well, thank you for being here. And like I said, I love copy. Copy is one of those things that I got fascinated with early on in business, because when I started my business, and I haven't told this story on the podcast yet, I was in the middle of 11 surgeries in 18 months. So wow. This business started when I was on an $804 a month Social Security disability check and $104 a month in food stamps. So that was $936 coming in. And I had this dream, but obviously there was not money. And so I got to learn this thing called copy really fast because, if you don't have great copy, people don't buy. Mm-hmm. And I remember looking around and being like, I just looked at everybody's sales page and I was like, oh my God, they all scare me. Like you're scaring me to the point that no, this is funny. You're scaring me to the point that I don't even realize like I didn't even know that I had the problem that you're telling me I have, but I also don't have any money, so you don't have to worry about me buying it. And then it got me thinking, how do I write copy that can show somebody they need what we have without making them feel like a piece of crap if they don't have the money or if they choose another way? And that's what started my fascination with copy. So I guess what started your journey in copy? Because you've worked for some of the biggest names in the industry with multi-million dollars of copy. What got you started?
So I actually fell into copywriting because I just love to write. I loved to write. I have been a fiction writer actually since I was 11, 12. My mom to this day is still like, Kate, when's the novel coming? What's happening? When are you going to publish the novel? And so I fell into copy because I needed a job when I got out of college. And I thought I was going to be a journalist. And then I decided I didn't want to be a journalist. And I didn't really know what I wanted to do. And I found a listing for a copywriter at an agency. And I didn't even know what that was. I was like, what is this? And I read the job description and I thought that I had found the biggest adulting hack ever, that someone was going to pay me to write aside from being a journalist. And I was like, okay, sure. Why not? And that's actually how I got started. I took a job at an agency as a copywriter and I was like, okay, I'll write for a living.
I love that. And what's actually, I didn't know that. And so what's fascinating about that is, going from journalism to copy are two different things.
Yes,
And
completely.
so when you stepped into the copy world, what was that like for you going from the fiction and from the journalism? And by the way, tell your mom, as soon as you find somebody, get me that $1 million advance. Like I'm there.
Yes, exactly. It was, to be honest, it was I would say a difficult process because there was a lot of relearning. And I think this is what I love so much about coaching on copy now, is that I can help people get over what I like to call their, English class writing style, because we're taught to write very formally, and copywriting is very different. It's much more approachable. You get to have a lot more fun with it, in my opinion. And so it was a learning curve for me to come in. And I actually did long form copywriting for the longest time, where I was doing blog posts and SEO and website copy. So conversion copy was something I even grew into. So it's been pretty consistent in terms of me, learning the next level and learning the next level, which is why I'm always saying, hey, if I can get to this point, anybody can learn copy.
Awesome. I love that. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, I will tell you, long form copy still works. If you ever show up on those pages and you're just like, why do they do this? The answer is it works. And that's actually something that, over the years, that one of the things that I guess that I've had to learn, and maybe you can dive into this just a bit here, is that sometimes as somebody who's writing a sales page, or maybe, outsourcing somebody to write a sales page for you, I think so many people could look at it and say, well, I don't like this or I don't like that. And they sometimes forget that their voice and their message is, and the way that they would read things is not the same way that their buyer would. And that was a very hard lesson for me, because I remember I would read stuff that I wrote and I was like, man, this is really good. And then nobody would buy. Mm-hmm. And then I'd read stuff and be like, man, that suck. And then we'd go sell 100 of them. And at some point I had to realize, it really doesn't matter what you like. What do the people that hit the buy button want?
Yes, exactly. And I think that comes up a lot, specifically in terms of sales pages. I hear a lot of people who go, well, I don't read a whole sales page. And I'm always like, well, that's great, but some people do. So you're the person who buys at the top, and then there's other people who buy at the very bottom. So we need both. We need the call to action at the very top of the page, and then we need the long form copy for those who want to read a little bit more. And I think you really, you hit the nail on the head. It's about what your buyers want, what your audience wants. And I do think there is a balance, because I kind of see the two extremes. So there's the one side where people only do what they feel like they would want. They, only write the way they would want to read. They only structure their page the way they'd want. And then there's the other side where you feel like you have to fit a mold that you don't necessarily belong in. And I really think that when you can merge both, you can tap into your intuition and get clear on what you want to say, what you're really feeling called to say, because you know your buyer so well. That's the key. Then you can do a little bit of both. You can add your own flair, your own spark, your unique personality, but you're operating from a place of truly knowing your ideal client.
I love that. So one of the ways that I say knowing your ideal client is, and I don't know, you might love this or hate this because it goes one way or the other with people. Um, so do you know anybody that's ever had a crazy ex-girlfriend, or were you that crazy ex-girlfriend?
I would like to think I've never been that crazy ex-girlfriend, but I do know I've had some crazy ex-boyfriends, to be honest with you.
Yes. So literally so one of the exercises we do at some of our live events when we're teaching people about getting to know your avatars, because you probably deal with the same thing. So I know you've got a signature program called Copy That Converts. And like you said, that you have to know who you actually serve. And I find that sometimes people have a challenge with that. So we joke and we're just like, hey, so if you had a crazy ex-boyfriend, here's the thing. You changed your phone number, they found you. Like you moved, they found you. You went to Christmas over at mom's house. They still showed up like nothing had happened. And then obviously there was a restraining order. But the thing is they knew you that well. Mm-hmm. And what if, as leaders, we knew the people that we served that well? Now, don't go get a restraining order, but that we knew like where they hung out online and what their pains were and what their possibility was so well, like that crazy ex-boyfriend or girlfriend, that we could then be able to have a conversation with them because we actually know them. And I know it's probably a really bad example, but
no, I love that example. I actually really love that. I feel like that anchors it in something that a lot of people can say they've experienced.
Yeah, it's just really bad when people raise their head. They're like, yep, I was the crazy. And I'm just like, okay, can you just stay over there, please?
I mean, like, bonus points though for being honest. Like that's amazing.
You will not be in the private coaching program. So
I love that example. I really do.
Yeah, I have no idea where it came from. One day we were talking about clarity at one of our live events, and somebody was just really stuck. And I said, I don't know where it came from. It just out of my mouth came. Has anybody ever had? And then as it started to come out of my mouth, I was like, oh no. Oh no, but you're committed. So here we go.
Here it
comes. Oh my gosh. So in Copy That Converts, I know that since we share a common friend and mentor, my guess is that you have a framework about what it really takes to create that copy that converts, especially since I was on your website the other day. And one of the things that I loved on there is you said, your voice is your responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
And so can you maybe share with us just a couple core tips about what it is to part of your framework to create that copy that converts?
Yeah, absolutely. So I operate from great copy is really great messaging. And every time I say this, people are like, but what's the difference? So I'm just going to go ahead and tell you guys what the difference is. To me, your copy is like your car. You can make it super shiny on the outside. You can make sure it looks great. It's always washed. I don't know, maybe you put some great rims on it. But if there's no gas in the car, it's not going to go anywhere. And this is how I think about copy versus messaging. Your messaging is the gas that makes your copy go. And a lot of people start at the end. They start with making their copy catchy, which, by the way, does not matter. Spoiler alert, listeners, your copy doesn't have to be overly creative and catchy in order to convert. But they start with making it really, catchy and tweaking the headline and finding a template that works without taking time to think about what am I actually saying to move someone to that next step. And if you think about it, your brand is made up of your messaging. It is your voice. It is what you stand for. It is how you position yourself, how you weave in your values, how you position your offers, how you position your trainings, what you talk about. That's all your messaging. And so if you can get clear on that, then you can have great copy. The the copywriting part is really just the finessing, in my opinion. So in my framework, we always start with messaging. It doesn't matter what you're doing, whether you're launching a new course, whether you're relaunching a course for the 100th time. We're always focused first and foremost on the messaging. How do we position the course? How do we position the launch and make sure that when you're going into a launch experience, like a webinar or a challenge or a free training series, that you're creating demand for what you're about to offer?
I am just over here taking notes, ladies and gentlemen. So I hope y'all are too, because this is really great stuff. And I love the focus of messaging being the gas, being the fuel, and the example of the car there, because it's so true. I've seen some extremely flashy sales pages and I mean, some great scarcity, some great these things. But then I look at it, I'm just like, but I still don't really know A, who you are, and B, what this actually does for me.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know
Exactly.
everything that you're selling, but I still don't know how it relates to me. And so that messaging, the story behind it is so key, because I think that one of the things that when I look at copy is I can read it and I'm just like, oh, you took so-and-so sales page and you just copied it. Oh, you took
Yes.
so-and-so sales page and just copied it. Now that said, y'all know that I've said before, and if those of you that have been with us for a few years, that literally when I wanted to learn copy, I went and found like 10 pages that I liked. And I was like, okay, that's called a headline. That's called a subheadline. That's called the Gazarnik technique. And I like really geeked into like figuring out all this stuff. And so, it's one thing to look at something, make it a template, but y'all just don't like rip off somebody's sales page word for word and just like change your like module, because that's just not good at all.
No. And it
Just
doesn't show who you are. And that to me is such a missed opportunity, y'all, is to be so focused on how to do it right that you miss the opportunity to show people your unique magic and your unique spark. I believe that everybody is put on this earth for a reason. Everyone has a unique message to share. And so when you focus so much on trying to emulate someone else or do it the right way or even write in a way that converts, when you're so focused on the technical, you lose the magic that's inside of you. And I really do believe that if you can focus first on what am I trying to say? And more importantly, what do my people need to hear from me in order to make the best decision for them? Because I always say it's not about, yes, it's about getting the yes, but it's also about getting a concrete no. When I'm going into a sales process, I want you off the fence. To be quite honest, if you say no and you're committed to that no, I'm happy with that, because that means that this is not a right fit for you right now or maybe ever. But my goal is to make sure that you make the best decision for you. And I can't do that with a fancy headline. I can do that with a great message.
Okay. I hope y'all heard that. Whether it's a yes or a no, you want a hard yes or a hard no. What you don't want is the buyer on the fence that just kind of accidentally tips over. You want them to
Mm-hmm.
jump one way or another. And I love that, because I think sometimes so many people are afraid of the no. It's like, I need that sale. I need that sale. What do I do to talk them into it? But as we know, and you've probably had some mistakes along the way, not all money is good money.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I know I've made some mistakes early on, and well, I mean, even this year we've had a lot of learning opportunities with COVID and with everything going on in the world. Right now, there's been some amazing learning experiences for us all, and so as a leader, or business owner, or maybe even in your career, what would you say has kind of been the biggest failure or learning opportunity, as I like to call them sometimes, that you've had, and what did you learn from it?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many. There have been so many lessons and learning opportunities. I think one of the biggest ones that I experienced that I actually directly attribute now to my success is when I first launched Copy That Converts. It was actually under a different name. It was called Brand Messaging Academy, and it was a variation of what has now become Copy That Converts. And I was a student inside James Wedmore's Business by Design. I had this idea in the back of my mind forever that I wanted to launch this copywriting program, but I had a lot of resistance to calling it a copywriting program. Someone had told me at some point in my career that you can't, you couldn't make it with copywriting. That wasn't the thing that people wanted. And I took that piece of information. And in my mind, I made that fact. I was like, okay, well, I can't do this. So I went to BBD Live. I shared my idea for this program I wanted to do. Everyone thought it was amazing. And I launched the beta and I had 5 amazing people come through. It was awesome. We had a great time. I turned around to relaunch it. I was, I'm going to go all in. I'm going to spend all this money on ads and do all of these things. And no one bought. So I'd come off the high of an awesome beta, turned around, spent all this money on ads, and no one bought. And so I sat there and I really, really, really was, I felt pretty low, to be honest with you, because I had avoided launching this for so long because of the fear that no one would buy. I avoided going into this process because of what I would make that mean about me, right? What that failure would mean about me as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, as a coach, and as a copywriter. And so what I learned, though, in that experience with that 0 sales was that I still wasn't in alignment with what I wanted the program to be. I was still avoiding fully owning the fact that it was a copywriting program and that it was really going to help you with your copy. I didn't fully lean into that yet. And so I turned around and relaunched it 3 months later, 3 to 6 months later. No, it was 3. It was about 3 months later as Copy That Converts. Went all in, said, whatever, I'm just going to do this because I've already had a quote unquote failed launch. So what does it matter if I have another one? Just experimenting at this point. And that launch ended up being almost a $30,000 launch. And to me, had I stopped at that failed launch, had I let that failed launch, and I'm using quotes, air quotes, stop me from going forward, had I not taken that as a learning opportunity to look and say, okay, what's really going on here? I would not be here talking with you. And it was such a catalyst for me.
Man. So hearing that story, it actually took me back to what you said earlier, which is you can have the car, you can have it all pretty, but you got to have the gas, which is the messaging. And so you had the pretty car, you had the amazing car, and you were out of alignment with your own messaging. And when you were able to go back and refuel, your car could run again. And I love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that, so many entrepreneurs, they see these successes that people have. And in doing that, it's simpler to say, oh my gosh, well, they did amazing, or this happened, than to be able to realize that there's been mistakes that all of us have had, because a lot of people just won't share them because they like to be the pageant queen. It's like, oh my God, everything's so beautiful, let's wave.
Yes.
Versus like, no, y'all, this was the real life. This is what really happened. And what had happened while y'all was sleeping was that this occurred.
Yes. I always tell people, I say, y'all, it's not like I came out of the womb an amazing copywriter with a successful business. Obviously, I struggled. Everybody struggles. Everybody has those lessons. And I really do think that if we were more open about them, then we would grow faster, especially in the online space, because it's easy to look at someone's, track record of only good and say, oh, well, I don't have what it takes because I'm not having 6-figure launches every single time I launch, but you're not seeing what went into getting to that level. And so I think if we could be a little more open and transparent with our audiences, we would actually help our audience grow that much faster.
Love it. Well, speaking of growth and going like forward faster, what would you say, some of the either books or courses or podcasts, whatever type of learning you like, that have helped you along the way in your journey?
Oh my gosh, so much. I am a proud student, a next level coach, and just massive fan of James Wedmore. So I have to say, like, Business by Design, his program changed my life. And I know it's not copywriting specific, but it just, I don't even have words, changed my life. And so that to me is one of the best business building programs I have ever taken. Obviously, I know Mel Abraham. I learn anything he puts out, I consume. He is a genius. Anything he shares. And then for me, this is going to sound kind of backwards, but I love the ongoing learning component, but I also really like reading fiction, because as a creative, I've found that I have to turn my brain off. And I was going through this phase where I read, a bunch of business building books. I was reading Rocket Fuel and I was reading Traction, and both are amazing. But I was so in business all the time that I wasn't giving myself any space to recode my brain for creativity. And so I actually spend a lot of time reading and listening to things that have nothing to do with business.
Hey, right now I'm the same way. I'm actually kind of addicted to Blacklist on Netflix, and I never watched it when it was like on. And so during the quarantine, I started watching season 1, episode 1, and have somehow in the past 3 months ended up in season 6. And I might be able to relate to just needing to like get out of business for a bit to just kind of reconnect to something else. Now, what that says that you read fiction and I watch murder mystery, I don't know. Maybe I'm a little bit more messed up in the head. But
I mean, I was just binging Vampire Diaries. I'm really ashamed to admit that on a podcast episode. But if we're going to go for full transparency, listen.
But I think it's just, I think that, people, forget that at the end of the day, we are all people. And the more that the people we serve get to see who you are, it actually gives them the opportunity when they see your program, when they see your Facebook Lives, when they see your podcast. I know you've got a podcast called the Dare to Be Dope podcast, that when they see these things, that they're able to say, you know what? They're my people. And so there's somebody else that loves Vampire Diaries, and there's somebody else that loves Blacklist, and there's somebody that's just sitting back there judging us, being like, why do y'all watch anything but like I just sit here and watch cooking shows? And that's the best part about it, is when you get to know like who your people are, it makes the conversation that much simpler. So
Yes.
I know that you've got your podcast, you've got Copy That Converts. But what are some of the ways that like people can connect with you and work with you and learn more about all the awesomeness over in your world?
Yeah, so I am a massive Instagram fan. I don't know how it happened, but one day I woke up and I was just like, Instagram is my channel. This is what I like doing. I'm always on stories. I think it goes back to just being able to be myself. The minute I started being myself in my business, everything changed. So I love connecting with people on Instagram. If you DM me, I will 100% DM you back. I'm a massive extrovert stuck in my house alone during quarantine. So please come be my friend. That I'm everywhere on the internet at Kate Dramis is where everyone can find me. Copy That Converts is our signature program. The links to all of that are in my bio on Instagram, on my website, katedramis.com. But wherever you guys feel like reaching out, guys and gals, I'm happy to chat with you wherever.
Awesome. Well, be sure to connect, chat, and I guess in, closing out our conversation here for today, because I have a feeling you'll be back another day, is what one piece of advice would you give this business owner, this community leader that's saying, you know what, I already kind of have a profitable business, but I want to build a community around it. I'm ready to hang out with more of my people consistently. What one piece of advice would you give them?
Oh, that is such a great question. I would say really focus on relationships and remember that on the other side of the screen is a human being. I think that when we think about growth, we can sometimes get really focused on numbers. I want to grow my community. I want to get more people in the door. And we forget that, again, on the other side of the screen is a human. And the more you are yourself and the more that you put out your unique energy and the more that you show up as you are and lead authentically and from the heart and in alignment with your values, the more your community is going to grow, because people are just going to gravitate to your energy and the right people are going to gravitate to you. So I would tell y'all, if you're looking to really, kick that community up a notch, to focus on the relationships, get to know people. That's what community is all about to me.
I love it. Well, thank you for being here with us today. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of the Connected Community Leader Podcast. Do us a favor, subscribe to the podcast right now. Let all your friends and other community leaders, coaches, speakers, consultants that might want to build a highly engaged, profitable community consider coming out to hang with this podcast, then hey, maybe even tell an enemy or two. They might end up like it as well. And join us at the Facebook group at robertoteaches.com. So thanks for joining me and Kate today. And we look forward to continue sharing this journey with you. Bye-bye.